Hello everyone, I'm Inkluv Singh from Mr. Reed's HS4U Families in Canada course, and for my Culminating in this course, Mr. Reed, I will be presenting the issues of declining birth rates and help question why is Canada's birth rate declining. I will be talking about the root causes, the theoretical perspectives, and the types of families that are affected by it. Oh, declining birth rate. So, what is birth rates? Okay, so it's the number of people born per thousand people each year. But the birth rate also affects our society in many ways through population and economic growth. Let's hit you with the stats quick. The total fertility rate in Canada is 1.33 children per woman in 2022. Can you believe that? For reference, you need around 2.1 children per woman just to support the population size and keep it stable. So, the million-dollar question is then, why are people having less babies? And what does that mean for families that want to make it work here? In today's presentation, we'll be looking at five root causes and find the answer for this issue. So, root cause one, economic pressures. Honestly, who isn't feeling the squeeze these days? Living in this country is nearly unaffordable for most people. Everyone knows that buying daycare, food, or even rent is a budget buster. For anyone who isn't wealthy, whether they own a small or large place, children are really expensive. And as someone would say, children, if I happen to win the lottery, then I could afford that. It's really not a joke. Stats Canada 2023 says that only 44% of people within the age group of 15 to 49 are financially good to go for raising children within the next 3 years. The remaining 56% consists of other groups as well, which pushes them back when it comes to having kids or not having in the first place. Then there's the headache of student loans, skyrocketing prices everywhere, and jobs that are unstable and have a habit of jumping to other places. People are mostly engaged in gig style work nowadays, and it's hard to predict when the next income will arrive. Who would want to include a baby in all of these problems? Even though starting a family may mean so much, it's only one thing pushing your way on the list of priorities. Root cause two, delayed lifestyles. Now, many people nowadays are delaying starting a family, mainly in order to further their education, land a decent career, or save money. Accordingly, the average Canadian woman gives birth in 1977, like the average age was the age of 26.8, which is particular, but in 2023, the average age for women to give birth is 31.7. To me, it seems like a significant rise when it comes to aging and fertility. Biology undoubtedly has a tendency to work against us. The longer you wait to have kids, the fewer you're likely to have. And that's about it. The mental effort when it comes to raising kids is important too. Looking after a baby, making mortgage repayments, and helping your parents are things to cope with. People who become parents late in life meet a serious level of violence and stress. Now, root cause three. Now, let's take a look at the idea of social values as we move ahead. Why are people likely to expect from others? Taking a lot of people reaching their attitudes, getting married, and having children isn't the only point of life now. To some, it is suggested to ask, should I get married right now, or could I travel instead? To be honest, few people are capable of doing this. Paying attention to an environment is another part of it too. Very having no children or having very little children is has become a symbol of environmental admiration for those trying to help the planet. All over social media, people are sharing their happiness at being child free by choice. 10 years back, how trendsetting was it? However, that doesn't really matter at this point. Younger people are the ones who are more susceptible. A lot of people can say, no thanks, kids aren't for me, and then there won't be any comments. It's really amazing how society changes. Now let's move on to root cause four, urbanization and housing. Without a doubt, city living is expensive. This global issue is difficult, especially in Canada, but the government is making it far worse. Given that there are shoebox apartments in every area, it is not surprising that the places are packed. Pin-sized condominiums are becoming more and more popular, with residents yearning for extra space for a child and more storage. How do you feel about raising a family in a 600 square foot bedroom? After all, people all over Canada experience conflicts. All the biggest cities in Canada are deemed to be unaffordable, according to the report by Remax in 2022. The article states that this makes perfect sense. Thus, planning to have several children when you can have barely pay for your own living expenses isn't really a smart idea. Now, root cause 5, work life balance and childcare. Your professional and personal lives can seem synced, allowing you to care for a child without giving up your career. At this stage, juggling balls serves as a metaphor for balancing work and parenting. Many individuals believe that having a profession and having children is impossible, despite the strong desire to do so. Understandably, people react in this manner because burnout is so frequent. Workdays are lengthy, and there is no one to help navigate them. Navigating family life may be equivalent to running a marathon with heavy backpacks. Good luck with daycare because it is more expensive than a car or is not available at all. Stats Canada 2023 made the point that almost 6 in 10 Canadian parents believe getting affordable childcare is nearly impossible. That's probably why many are choosing to have one or not have any children at all. Now we've explored all the root causes, and now we will dive deeper into the theoretical perspectives linked with this issue. First, you have to take a look at structural functionalism. Let's take a moment to talk about families. They play an important part in the formation of society, and this is what everyone who examines society from a functionalist perspective believes. For example, raising your children, teaching them proper manners, and imposing bizarre family customs on them that they may not ought to follow, the next generation is prepared to flourish and then take off. However, this presents a concern because birth rates are declining. In fact, it's really close to zero. As a result of this trend, fewer young people will be available to contribute to and support the economy. Instead, functionalists think that these pressures are like a sport beam breaking in society. Now let's move on to what conflict theory offers. It states that we should reframe the conversation and use conflict theory to investigate the birth rate issue. Essentially, if you don't have much money, having children nowadays seems like going to a race you've never trained for. The answer goes beyond it's my choice because it's not that easy. We all know that the major reason people do not have children is not because they dislike them, but raising them is a privilege and they're so expensive. When you spend the majority of your time paying rent, thinking about expenses, and waiting for daycare, it doesn't make sense to add a baby to your life. At the same time, individuals with money behave differently. They're relaxing, they have everything going on for them, while others must live and rise above the pressures of society. So is the number decreasing? It's not a little issue. It appears like the economy is saying there is something seriously wrong here. Now, feminist theory. The fact that feminist theory immediately emphasizes how new roles for fathers and mothers are having a significant impact on family life. Women were once seen as housewives, moms of big children, and those who had no ambition to pursue major career. School is no longer as simple as it once was. Their scenario is quite different now. Women are gaining an education, rising through the corporate ranks, and most importantly, making their own decisions. We should look at more than just one aspect of women's identities. Some are struggling and saying that they think about it later, but cutting apart from your families is unnecessary. What is important is that you make your own judgments. And also, the decline in birth rates might also be since women are prioritizing their career over only having children. Okay, Now, there are different various types of families that are also being affected by the issue, and let's see how each individual type of family is affected. First, we have nuclear families. Nuclear families usually have two parents and have children living in a single house. It is now normal to have one child in a nuclear household. Remember when there were three siblings that would fight over TV? Discussions regarding this tendency are losing their importance. Smaller sizing families, and they're becoming more common, and people are more having single children now. Now, with effect on single parent families, things are tough for many single parent families. Doing the job of two people, managing debts, and raising a child by yourself, it's brutal. The reduced number of kids somehow leads to parents to face greater pressure, which is not an easy process, which worsens economic and social challenges. And now let's continue with same sex couples. Are same sex couples permitted to contemplate adopting or using any of the latest reproductive technologies? Yeah, they are allowed, but it's really expensive. Money and bureaucracies may appear to be the stumbling barriers, but people are becoming more optimistic about them. It is still as awful as before, but currently you can marry, but there's no provision in the legislation for the expense of starting a family. Now, finally, with multi generational families. Multi generational families consist of people of various ages, including parents, children, and grandparents. This is largely because money is really tight, not much money. Even yet, as there will be fewer newborns in the future due to declining birth rates, you may find that residents may get quieter over time since there's not like a baby crying in their household. As a result, families might evolve unexpectedly at times as strange things keep happening in our lives. Yeah, very strange how like all these people live together. Never thought that would happen back in the day. Now for my conclusion. Why are there fewer births in Canada today? Yes, it isn't just because some people choose not to be parents. It's far more involved than just light bulbs and switches. There are other systems that hold us back, such as pricey housing, childcare that costs more than rent, and outdated legislations. This phase occurs at a particularly difficult moment. Certain things are being rearranged, but life is becoming increasingly tough. Do you wish to become a parent? Good luck buying it. Forget about firms that portray working families as irritation rather than a benefit to be valued. After considering these factors, what should we do? We should ensure that our voices are heard, and let's make sure that costs are reasonable, residents are affordable, and employments are available. We should cease condemning individuals for systemic problems. It is up to everyone to resolve this issue. As Vin Diesel's family is everything comment may sound a bit cliche, but it's actually true. I really appreciate, Mr. Reed, for you listening any free time and marking my culminating. Again, I want to apologize. It was maybe a bit long, 15-ish minutes. I want to apologize for that, but I really had a lot of content I needed to cover, and I think that doing it this deep might help me get a better mark, and I hope you enjoyed it, despite the long PowerPoint. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great summer. Thank you.